Look, I want you to think about a typical Tuesday afternoon, specifically on April 21st, 2026. You're at a dog park. Maybe it's Centerville Mills over in Bainbridge Township. It's the kind of place where the biggest drama on any given day there is a dog digging a hole too close to the fence. But around 4:20 p.m. that day, the quiet suburban peace was just blown apart by gunfire. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Jones. Today, we're unpacking the case that feels like a literal nightmare scenario for modern America. It all started out as a casual conversation between two strangers sitting at a picnic table, and that all ended in a chaotic shootout in the parking lot. And the fuse that lit it that asks a heated argument over Donald Trump. Now, we aren't here to tell some sensationalized, overdramatic true crime story. What I want to do today is pull back the curtain on this legal heavy machinery grinding behind the case. I want to somewhat dive into the Ohio defense laws, look at how the prosecutors systematically dismantle stand your ground claim using physical evidence, and talk about the hyper-polarized politics that are turning everyday public spaces into a legal minefield. So let's lay out exactly what happened. The time frame starting from April 21st, we got two men involved here, one being 80-year-old Emmanuel Matthews from South Russell and 55-year-old Marine Corps veteran David Matai. Both of them are at the park on this day. Unclear if Matthews had a dog, but Mr. Matai did. And both of them were carrying their firearms. According to witness testimony from the preliminary hearings, Matthew was already having a political discussion at a picnic table with someone else when Mr. Matai walked over and interjected, and the altercation became very personal and then became very physical. A witness claimed that Mr. Matai became verbally aggressive and at one point physically grabbed Matthews by the hair. Now, after the physical clash, it seems like things may have settled down. Matai left the picnic area and went out to his car, but the catch is that their cars are parked right next to each other. And according to police reports, Matai saw the handgun sitting on the front seat of Matthews' car and allegedly said to him that, if you got one, I got one too. Matai turned his back, bent over to buckle his dog into the vehicle, and that's when Matthews drew his gun and fired. Bullet hit Matai in the lower back, tearing through his abdomen, piercing his bowel, damaging his spine. But even when the horrific near-fatal injuries, Matai's military training apparently kicked in. He reached into his car, grabbed his own 9mm pistol, and returned fire at Matthews' car as he sped out of the parking lot. Matthews wasn't hit, and police arrested him a short time later. Matai did not lose any conscience. He laid on the ground in excruciating pain, fully aware of what happened and his injuries awaiting for first responders. He spent weeks in the hospital fighting through surgeries, dealing with lower body sensory issues. Matthews, on the other hand, was recently indicted at the Geauga County grand jury on second-degree felony charge of felonious assault. Now, when you step back and look at it, is it just a really terrifying reality? Or are political identities becoming so tangled up with our personal egos that an attack on a political figure seems like a physical threat to ourselves? Have we lost our neutral zone? But if we look at this from a courtroom perspective, this is where the story gets kind of complex. Let's shift into the legal side of things here, because this is where the rubber meets the road of Matthews' defense attorney. Ian Friedman has made it clear that they are going all in on a self-defense claim. Their argument is kind of straightforward here. They're saying that Matai was the initial aggressor, pointing back to the hair-pulling incident, and that 80-year-old man had every reason to fear severe bodily harm from a much younger military veteran. What we actually know is that Matthew, what he was thinking right after it happened, Police cruiser body camera footage captured him saying this after the arrest, that he had saw his gun get pulled out and he felt like his life was in danger. But then he added a really telling phrase: "I should have been more of a coward, then this wouldn't have gone that far." But my take on this whole situation, from a legal standpoint, the defense is facing a massive uphill battle. Now, in Ohio, has a stand your ground law in the state in the last few years, which passed, which means you don't have the duty to retreat before using lethal force, as long you're in the place that you have a legal right to be. And here we are. They both have the legal right to be in this park. They both were not banned from it. There's nothing listed for them not being allowed to be there. So, yeah, the stand your ground law could apply in this place. And second, but for the self-defense claim to hold up in court, the core pillars here is that you have to prove is that, and the special prosecutor in this case, Seth Enlow, is going to attack them fiercely. First, you need the element of imminent danger. You have to have an honest, reasonable belief that you are in danger of death or great bodily harm right from that second. The defense argues that Matthew had an advanced age and Mattai's mention of a gun justified the panic. Second, you have to prove a duty of non-aggression, meaning you can't be the original person who escalated or provoked a physical fight. And if we look back at the beginning here, it was Mattai who interjected himself and began, from witness testimony, became aggressive with Matthews and physically by pulling his hair and verbally. So, I mean, we'll see how this plays out. The trial's still currently going here. But absolutely the biggest hurdle for the defense is the physics of the shooting and timeline. It is kind of murky here based on the initial reports and body cam footage. It's kind of, it's murky. So if you think about it, Mattai was shot in the back while attending to his dog. On top of that, court testimony, there was a gap of anywhere to 3 to 8 minutes between the initial hair pulling at the picnic table and the actual shooting in the parking lot. In the eyes of the law here, self-defense does apply in a sense. The threat has to be happening right then. So if the fight ends and several minutes pass and the guy walks away to put his dog in the car, the immediate threat of death has arguably evaporated. The prosecution is going to hammer this one home, I think. They'll argue that Matthews didn't pull the trigger out of fear. He pulled it out of retaliation and wounded pride. When this finally goes to trial in the Geauga court, the entire jury will have to make a decision. Is going to hinge on what actually happened during those few minutes of separation. Which brings me to the what I call the Carey paradox, the spot where the law and culture collide. There's directly challenges that this case directly challenges the famous gun rights we all heard an armed society is a polite society. But in this scenario, both men were legally armed, but instead of acting as a mutual deterrent that forced them to calm down and be polite, the presence of the firearms here with a margin of error dropped to actually zero. A hot-headed, impulsive moment by the 80-year-old man instantly escalated a political shouting match into a bloody shootout. When lethal force was immediately accessible in your pocket or in your front seat, a regular public space like a park where you take your dog suddenly carries the legal and lethal stakes of a combat zone, if we all think about it. But here in the upcoming trial, Mr. Matthews is going to be the one to watch. I think here it's going to be the test of the absolute boundaries of the stand your ground laws, and also it's going to force the jury to decide exactly where self-defense and retaliation begins. But while we wait for this legal system to do its thing here, David Mattai is facing a long, conscious road to recovery, and the community of Bainbridge Township to the left trying to pick up the pieces and deal with the emotional fallout. But before I sign off here, I want to open this up to you guys. If you live in the area with an open or concealed carry, does a case like this challenge you how you navigate a disagreement in public? How do we even begin to rebuild those neutral spaces where we can disagree without living the fear in our lives? Let me know what you think. Head to social media, post about it, leave a comment on the podcast here. Let me know what you guys have in your mind here. If you like the mix of legal breakdown, storytelling, please hit subscribe, rate us, and share this episode with a friend. Until next time, stay safe, keep your cool, and thank you for listening.